Good morning, fellow YouTubers. Sometimes I get up in the morning, I'm like, I just got a hankering to speak truth. A couple of things I thought about today was just telling my story. It's a very interesting one. Certainly, I would want my kids to know my story if I pass, especially with everything that's going on with the COVID right now, which could happen at any point. So I'll leave a little bit of a autobiography video here, kind of explain my life, my 46 years in this earth, and even before then, my mama's time. So I'll just put together a story from information I've been given from my mother, Marlene, and piece together as much as I could know. You know. The caveat here is that my mother, Marlene, was adopted. Family never appreciated her. And so she never really had much family, knew anything about herself or anything like that. My own father, uh, Jonathan Jordan, decided to abandon my mother and myself when I was a year old. And so I've never really, nor has my mother, had any opportunity to know our histories or who our parents were and our backgrounds and things like that. So very little information is available, but I'm now going to tell a story of what I know so far. From what I understand, my mother was a baby from a marriage of native people who had some infidelity, and my mother believes that's where she was born from. Uh, Della Trujillo has come up as my mother's real biological mother, who she apparently has hung out with in her time, gotten to know later in her life. So Epifanio and Della Trujillo apparently were married, and my mother was born to Della, but from infidelity. And so my mother was not wanted by the Trujillos and was given up for adoption and was adopted by a white family, the Malloys, who uh, ended up drinking themselves to death by the time she was 15 years of age. So the story begins with my mother in a large open field sitting on a fence underneath the New Mexico sky. Stars filled the sky. It was beautiful and bright. It was full moon. She was there with her boyfriend. She was probably 12 or 13. The way my mother tells it, a gang of boys rode up in a truck, jumped out, beat up her boyfriend, and did not do nice things to her. This was her beginnings of understanding how men in this country are. At 15 years of age, she then witnesses her two alcoholic adopted white parents, Paul Malloy and Edna Malloy, witnesses them basically kill themselves of alcoholism at the time she's 15. Apparently, these Malloys loved to have vodka on their nightstands as they went to bed, so when they woke up in the middle of the night, they could get a new drink. That is the level of alcoholism that she dealt with. Apparently, the father was functional. He was an accountant and took very good care of my mother, and she tells fond stories of him taking care of her when she had asthma as a young girl. Edna Malloy, on the other hand, was the mommy dearest, basically, and tormented my mother her whole life. And eventually, they both died by the time she was 15. The way she tells it, she had no parents. They were both dead on the floor, and she had to walk outside into the freezing cold in a blizzard storm in New Mexico. Went to the nearest park until police found her and brought her to the local precinct, and gave her hot drink and a blanket. She was then basically went through the system after the age of 15. At the age of about 18, 19, she'd gotten out on her own and made her way to Santa Cruz, California, where she met Jonathan Jordan. I had the displeasure of meeting this fool recently, as I was 45 years old. Basically, the same month that the pandemic started in March 2020 is when I found Jonathan Jordan. My wife gave me as a gift the Ancestry.com, and I found out that he was on there and he was 99% match for my DNA. And I figured out where my bloodline comes from because my mom and I don't have much information as to where we come from. So, back to the story. Mother meets Jonathan Jordan at 1819 in Santa Cruz, California. And as per his own words, in when I was 45 and I talked to him for the first time in my life, always wondering what he looked like and who he was. Finally talked to him. The way he tells the story is he was in an apartment complex and my mother was living there, staying with a friend. And he had decided to leave his previous family, which he had another wife and child that he had abandoned as he met my mother. He decided he wasn't going to do life on his parents' terms, on his church terms, on his family terms. He was going to just leave everything behind and go be a free spirit and do what he wanted. And so that's when he met my mother. Apparently, he had taken a shower. This is his own story, his own words. Taken a shower in which he had a conversation with God and basically begged God to come into his life so he could know God intimately and not go down the wrong path. So he gets out of the shower and gets dressed and goes to open the door to his apartment complex. And there he sees my mother, Marlene Malloy. And he immediately says to her, "Do you believe in God?" She responds with a comment that she does, but it's hard for her because of the way she's been treated by men in her life. They apparently had an ensuing conversation, a very deep conversation about God for the next few weeks. And in that time, I was conceived. She left after that few weeks, came back 1 year later with me in tow, showed me to him and said, "This is your baby. I've not been with any other men." He accused her of being basically a slut. Could have been with any number of men, and it could not have been his baby. Could have been anyone else's baby. So he turned around and walked away. And I got to have no father for the next 45 years. Now, when I was young, it was hard on me and mom. I was always latchkey and, never had enough of anything and always had used anything if I had anything at all. She always did her best, provided anything she could, worked herself to the bone, and I appreciate and love her example that she's given me. She's done a phenomenal job. She's a great woman. But it was always very hard on her and I. And basically, when I was young, I assumed that when the world had heard of this story and what had been done to me by my father, the world would be open arms. They'd be kind. They would be, "Hey, man, that's pretty messed up. If you're willing to work hard and be a good person, we got work for you to do at least." So I knew very young, coming up, that it would be very difficult for me to survive without a father. Right? I mean, if you just think about it logically, in nature, most animals that lose one parent will either get eaten by other animals or they will starve. So I was not in a very good position put by my irresponsible Republican white daddy. So he turns around and walks away from my mother, and she says, "Well, I'm going to raise this child on my own, and I'm not going to get any help from you, obviously." And She didn't have an attorney or money or any way to try to get child support from him, so that never happened. There was never a dime ever he had to pay for me ever. As I got to know him later in life, because I never knew him at all in my life up until 45, I come to find he'd done this numerous times. He actually was the slut in his lifetime. He's now 70 years old, and he had been with 4 or 5 different women and had kids with them and abandoned them all. My mother, in fact, had only been with 2 men in her entire life, him being the first one, and just wanted to have a family with him, have some semblance of a life, from a life she never got to know. And he just was irresponsible and walked away. Claims to this day that he's a man of God, runs around thumping the Bible on everybody's head, including my own, as if he had any right. So, assuming the world would be good, I went out and found out at an early age that no. In fact, the world had looked down on me for the position I had been born in. That was flabbergasting. That was astonishing. Like, I know myself, if I personally had heard this story of another individual, I could never be anything but understanding, kind, helping, because this kind of thing is not supposed to happen all the time. Unfortunately, what I come to find in my blissful ignorance is that this kind of thing happens, in fact, all the time. I've come to learn a great appreciation for step parents, as what I've come to understand is they step up when biological parents are irresponsible and don't know how to step up. So, in my ignorant bliss at 18, I went and figured that it was going to be very difficult for me without a father, but I was going to have to just work extra hard and be extra nice, extra kind, extra loving. And I am to this day. I consider myself really Jesus of modern day. And I don't mean Jesus by a messed up society's definition of Jesus, but I mean the real actual definition, which most people understand. And that was a kind and loving man. Someone's calling. Unfortunately, I should have turned off my phone. Boy, this is annoying. I guess what I'll do is just turn down all the way and continue on. Apologize. Very stupid. So, back to the story. I assumed that everybody would be, let's put it on Do Not Disturb. I would assume everybody would be wonderful, kind, hear my story and be like, hey, let me assist, let me help. But in fact, that was not the case. What ended up happening was that I found that most men leave their families. They're abusive if they stay. They're usually worthless, drug addicted, alcoholic, do nothing. I mean, the standard man in the white society is a joke. It's embarrassing, really. The common understanding in America is that you hire Asians because they are the opposite of Americans. They are not fat, lazy, stupid, evil, or mean. They supposedly work hard, very intelligent, something that has come to be the antithesis of the Americans. So I assumed if I was a good person and willing to work hard, that these shortcomings that I found myself in this life would be, you know, overlooked. I could just be respected as the man that I am. But unfortunately, I found very early that Americans do not like to hire Americans. They would prefer to ship the jobs to other countries or bring in other foreigners to work the job. So there is no high level technical work in the United States. There's none. There's really hardly any intelligent work left in the United States for people to do. There's certainly no manufacturing or building. There is no science or technology. There is simply infighting, beginnings of a civil war, and straight foolishness as the world just zooms past us and technology and everything else. And it's just, it's really sad. It's a really sad state of affairs. So here I am with a father that walked away, with a very small family that I have provided. because I've always wanted to have family. Never had any family. I do now. I have my own family. They're wonderful. I love them to death. But surrounded by this society of like people who love hate, they love to hate everything. They love guns more than anything because it feeds into that hatred. And this is the society I've had to try to like survive in. So to this day, I've had very little work in IT or technology. Uh, I've had very little family. I had a father that walked away, and then an entire country really that followed suit. You know, and so what I learned early on, as I understood, it was funny. My first phrase when I was young was, "I'm the fool," and I have to go out and learn from others how to not be a fool, how to get some information and not be young and dumb. You know, and it turned out that uh, I was the smart one all along. Everyone was the dumb one. It was just mind-boggling, totally mind-boggling. So I expect still to this day, and to the day I die, I will expect a society that says, we're not going to be hateful and evil to you because your dad's already done enough of that to you. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna let you work when you want to work. We're gonna let you do what you want to do. We're gonna let you succeed and be successful in this society that's supposed to promote that as the freedom that we all enjoy. So really, my life has been this struggle, and I parallel it to the struggles of Black people, Jewish people, a lot of people who've been just suppressed for no reason, because of what they look like or what they believe or whatever. It's funny. I have recently come to the epiphany that I'm treated so horribly and not employed in my country because I have a very nice, prominent nose. And people love to call me a Jew all the time without even thinking, it's second thought about it, just automatic assumption. It's like what white people do. They just see a big nose and they think automatic Jew. And they don't like Jews too much around the United States. They're pretty Jew not friendly here. So it turns out I'm Scandinavian. My worthless father's family came from Sweden, and my mother was native. And so that's where I get my big prominent nose from, and I love it. And I'm proud of it. But I've put up with a lot of misery and contention from people over my big nose. And really, we need to live in a society where everyone's whatever is appreciated. No matter what you look like, it's appreciated. I still believe in a society where someone like myself would be treated well, because society would understand that it's duty to protect those who have fathers that irresponsibly walk away. So it's time to put away the love of guns. It's time to put away the love of hate. And as part of my story, which now is me just holed up in my house for many, many years now, taking care of my family, doing the best I can, not being able to work in the technology and program the computers like I know how to do very well. And I'm the best at it in the world as far as I'm concerned. But unfortunately, I just don't have a society that's willing to put me to work. And if this video can help anybody who finds themselves in this situation and wonders what they do, why are they so alone? Why are they in this situation? Trust me, it's all right. It happens to the best of us, and it's okay. You just gotta pick yourself up, use whatever you have around to survive the best way you can, and just stay true to who you are. That's what's always gotten me through this life, is staying true to God. At a young age, I knew that with a father that walks away and a mother that would have to work double time to overcome that, that I was going to be alone a lot. And so the one that has always been there with me has been God. And God to me is that special force that is unseen but always there. It's stronger than anything, protects everything, and it's what's born in a physical form when life is born. And so I am one with that energy, and it's what's kept me alive and happy and in a wonderful life, though I had a very irresponsible father And a mother that probably should have thought twice before she was going to give birth to someone like that, with someone like that, going to have a family with someone like that. She should have probably got to know him a little better and maybe, done better practice to not, have me in the first place. But I've come to find that through all of this story, my purpose in being here is simply to exist because that's all I do. I'm not put to work. I'm not utilized. I'm not listened to. I'm not appreciated. I'm not anything. I could be nothing, be gone tomorrow and be like, I was never here. But what I am here for and what God has brought me here for seemingly no other reason, is to provide my highest level of vibration that I can. The highest level of vibration is loving your fellow life and just wanting to be kind to it, take care of it. Even the mean and hostile ones, like little kids that are angry and they want to make the rest of the group like wonder what are you doing when they act out, even those adult groups, I have to love them too and just give them what they need. And if they're crazy and have problems, well, they go to the hospital and they get fixed. But I can't write off anyone. Both sides, Democrat, Republican, seem to want to write each other off, can't talk or anything around each other. The first thing that goes out the window when Democrats and Republicans get together is the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. We don't have the right to speak about politics or religion, though it's the most important things in our lives. And we don't talk about them. We throw out freedom of speech, politics, and religion immediately when we get together just so we can get along together. It's unreal. So I've been born to create a new day, a new way of thinking. And I think it's just the old way of thinking. I think the old way of thinking has just been hijacked by these crazy fools that exist right now. And I'd like to share one story within my story that gives me power and strength through this life. It is the fact that darkness can never obscure a flame. There is simply no amount of darkness that can put out light. One small candle can illuminate a dark universe. That universe cannot snuff out that candle. That's just the way it is. So as I stand here as a lone candle in my lifetime through the things I've had to go through, all this darkness around me can never snuff out my light. You can put a bullet in the body, but you can't put a bullet in the idea. You can't put a bullet in love and kindness. It's always going to come back, and it's going to be brighter than your darkness. So you always lose when you were dark. And when many, many candles come to the aid of one lone candle, all darkness is eradicated. These are the things that Jesus mentioned to people when he was alive. And these are the things that I'm going to mention to people while I'm alive, for whatever time I have left. I want my family, I want my kids, I want my fellow man to know that I existed like a steel rock that no amount of water could ever change. I've considered myself an apple in a barrel of apples, and all the other apples are rotten, and I'm the only one that's good to eat and sweet and fresh and delicious still. And I can never be made rotten, but it is very difficult for me to make those rotten apples whole again. But I try because of my life, my love of life, rather. So that's the story of my life. A mother who was adopted, never got to know a family, was hated by her own because she was adopted into the family. She lost her parents early, and really the only one parent that ever loved her, the adopted father, Paul Malloy. And she went on and tried to have a family with another man who simply walked away, irresponsibly, claiming that he wanted to know God. So he begged God, and when God delivered me to him so he could know God, He irresponsibly walked away from that as well. And this is the way of Americans today. And it's shameful. And it's going to change as long as I'm alive, because I am the light. I drive out all darkness. No amount of darkness can take away my light. My light lives forever, for I am the everlasting spirit of mankind, and I'm never going away. No matter what this society does, or no matter how hard it makes it for me to survive. God wants me here. God protects me in this lion's den. My name is Daniel. And it's actually beautiful, all of these things. One could look at my story and say, wow, that's very sad. But another might come and say, wow, that has given rise to great strength. And it has. I'm like the one movie from the 80s, the Incorruptibles, or it was something like that. It was about the guys that went after the guys that were making money off of bootleg liquor. I'm incorruptible, indestructible, unchangeable. I'm simply kindness. I'm simply love. I seek out those who are righteous. I even went to CSL. That's Science of Mind religion. They study all religions to find the best of the best of all religions. Something I found myself doing when I was 18, 19. I first started to seek out spirituality when I was very young because I knew it'd be a long, hard life without it. Of course, everything points to ancient texts found in India, Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a lot of great spiritual text if one wants to know. But even in CSL, those were just crazy white people who were hiding behind a shield of kindness, love, and understanding. So I today, as a lover and a defender of righteousness, truth, kindness, and true peace on earth, I tell my stories. I tell it like it is and how it should be. And I will with my last breath. My purpose in this life is to hold the highest vibration and to bring into being the next generation of Christ type people. Angels, I call them. My kids are that, exactly, angels. And they will be the next generation that goes in and boldly speaks the words that I speak now. Reverence for the wonderful things of life, the wonderful aspects of human beings. Not the baseness that loves hatred and guns, but the loving, kind humanity that wants to nurture new life. So that's my story. I'm proud of who I am. Ridiculed by a hate-filled society because of the situation I've been put in. But that doesn't bother me at all. God is my strength and my protector and always will be. I will return to God and I will come back from God many times. So I have no worries. This society loves to run around mistakenly thinking that kindness is a weakness, but in fact, kindness is the ultimate strength. Hatefulness is the ultimate in weakness. It's yelling at someone that I don't have enough, so I can't help you, so don't ask. But strength is saying, I have more than enough. My cup runneth over. Let me assist you. That's what strength is. That also happens to be the light in the darkness. And it is here, inside me, right on YouTube, through the words I speak. I'm sure I'll come up with some more stuff about my life, but I just wanted to get down the basics of what I knew, what I understand. I certainly will have more videos about this stuff. But for my angels of the future, who will no doubt lose me someday and they will look back and want to know more about me, I hope they find this video and they see what my life was, what my story was, and how hard I work so that they could be, so that they can live into the future and create high vibrations that they will create decades from now when I'm gone. That's my purpose. That's my life. I am love. I am kindness. And I will crush anything that opposes that with simplicity and ease. Come back soon. I got lots more good videos. Stay honest to the truth. Take care of one another.